how to start a small farm from scratch. So starting a farm is more than just saying, I'm a farmer. There's a lot of different things tied together there. So a farm is a business. So there is a lot of things to consider before jumping feet first into this endeavor. If you'd like to start your own small scale farm, homestead, regenerative agriculture, direct to consumer farm, I hope I can point you in some direction here in this video. Those of you that don't know me, my name is Paul here at Broken Arrow Farm. We're a small family farm striving to make a profit and an income on our farm and helping you along the way. If you're watching this video, you know that a lot of people nowadays are wanting to leave the hustle and the bustle of the town or the cities and get back to rural America or get to rural America because they want to produce food for their family. They want to produce food to sell to customers. They just want a slower paced lifestyle. So if you're watching this video, I'm guessing you're probably fall into one of those categories right there. Either you're in the city and you're looking to get out to go into a rural area. Maybe you've already started your farming or your homesteading adventure and you're looking for more guidance and more tips and more help, which that's why I'm here. Or maybe you just want to live vicariously through us and see how we live and how we do this adventure. Now I hear this a lot. I want to start a farm. I want to start a homestead, but it's just so expensive and I can't find a place to buy. And land's so expensive and interest rates are so high, it's just crazy. It'll never happen. Well, with the mindset of it'll never happen, you're right, it'll never happen. But I'm going to walk you through some steps here today that will get you gradually started on this adventure. So start small. I just didn't buy our property and all of our livestock and all of our equipment and all that stuff overnight, nor was any of this inherited. This was all built from the ground up. So like I said, start small. Start researching where you want to live. Where do you want your farm to be or your homestead to be? Start looking around. Is it local where you're currently living? Or is it across the country somewhere else? So research that. Research your different USDA growing type zones, your precipitation in those zones, because all that's going to come into play, especially if you've got livestock and you've got crops. That's all going to affect that. And then also figure out what type of weather there's going to be where you're looking to live, because that's going to affect a lot as well, and how you live and what you can raise. So here in Northeast Wyoming, USDA zone 4B, if we wanted to raise avocados, we couldn't. So in the beginning, that was part of the plan, was obviously not going to raise avocados in zone 4B. So just something like that. So all of our plants are adapted to zone 4B along with our livestock. So then start researching what you want to raise, what you want to have on your farm. Do you want to raise chickens or rabbits or Coturnix quail or cattle or kangaroos or zucchini, pumpkins? Anything's possible. Anything's possible. Start researching what you want to raise, and then also start looking at what the market looks like for that product. So, for example, when I first started our farm here, I started to raise pasture-raised poultry, pasture-raised chickens in Northeast Wyoming. Nobody was doing it. Everybody thought I was crazy. But you know what? Nobody was selling pasture-raised poultry. You know what they were selling and what you could find readily available? Beef, pork, and lamb. So at the local farmers markets, at the local stores, that product was available locally. What wasn't available was pasture-raised meat chickens, or just any meat chickens in general. None was available in this area. So that was one of my main first enterprises that I started with on the farm. The rabbits, which I had already had those before, so they're already up and going. But maybe there is a lack of something else that is already being sold. So maybe there is already meat chickens being sold in your community, but maybe those folks that are selling the meat chickens sell out of meat chickens and there's still more customers wanting to buy them. So that's definitely an option as well. What's the goal going to be for your farm? Because you got to keep that in the back of your mind. You just can't want to go out and buy a farm and then just start buying a whole bunch of animals and buying a whole bunch of plants and doing all this stuff with not really a plan moving forward. Because if you fail to plan, you're going to plan to fail. Because if you buy all these animals and they're expensive and there is no market for them, you've got all these costs and it's expensive anyway, paying for your property and all the other expenses that go around along with having a farm. Just make sure you have all that stuff in place before you dive into it head first. So our goal here on our farm when we started doing it here was providing product, so meat and produce that is locally, naturally raised. So that's kind of our slogan right there, locally, naturally raised right there. Can you start a farm right now where you're living? So let's say you're living in town. Maybe you've got a house and the house has like a house and a basement or a house and a garage or a house and a backyard. Can you start a farm? Well, probably not. But what you can start doing is learning how to farm. So take for example, you have space for a garden in your backyard and you want to have a large garden on your farm someday. Start utilizing that garden. Maybe you already are using that garden and you're growing stuff and you're learning stuff, which is great. So right there, you're already learning the tricks of the trade. If you are already doing that, just keep improving on that and learn more to be better and more efficient. So when you go a little bit larger scale, you'll succeed with that. Maybe you don't have a backyard and you've got a basement and a house, or just a house, or maybe just an apartment or a patio, whatever. Do a container garden growing. So growing stuff in containers, whether it be tomatoes or peppers or lettuce or whatever will grow in a container out on your patio. Do that, even though it's very small scale and you're probably not going to be selling this stuff directly to a consumer. You're going to be consuming it yourself, which is perfectly fine. You're learning how to do this, how to start those seeds, how to care for those plants, how to harvest those plants. You're learning how to do that on a very small level, which is perfectly fine. Okay, so maybe you are living in town and you're still looking for that farm. Can you have chickens in your town or your city? I know a lot of towns allow chickens in town now. And if you can, maybe you're one of those people that already have them because you're living that lifestyle. But if you can, something to look into. Maybe start with just a few chickens. They're probably not going to let you have 30 chickens in town, but maybe you'll have 6 or 4 or whatever. It's somewhere to start and to learn how to care for those birds. Starting as a chick, learning how to brood those birds, how to help them grow, get them to the coop, and then get them to laying eggs. So start at a small scale, so when you do expand, you've got that part figured out, and you'll feel very confident moving forward with raising meat chickens. Okay, rabbits. So I know a lot of towns allow rabbits to be raised because they take up a very small space, or you can keep them in your garage, your backyard. Don't take up a lot of space. And I do know quite a few folks that do raise rabbits in town. So go out and find you a trio of rabbits, 2 does and a buck. Start raising them. Yeah, it's going to be pretty small scale, but you know what? You're going to learn all of the basics of raising rabbits. And if you want to learn more about raising rabbits, I've got a bunch of videos on that and a master class I'll dump down here in the bottom of the show notes. Check that out. Are there local farms around where you live? I'm going to guess so, because agriculture land is all over America. So are there like some smaller scale farms around, like something that maybe they're doing what that you want to do someday? Go out, make contact with those folks and say, hey, I want to learn what you're doing because someday I want to do this. And just go out there and help them, work for free, learn what they're doing. If they'll allow it, I'm guessing they'll probably take free labor. And maybe go out there and maybe you'll figure out, wow, this is really hard work. I don't like being out here picking weeds in the high tunnel or in the garden when it's 100 degrees. Or I don't like taking care of livestock when it's 20 below. So maybe you'll figure out that this lifestyle is not for you. But I'm guessing you're probably going to go out there and enjoy it and figure that that lifestyle is for you. So an example that I have here with our farm, so we do bring on a high school kid or two every summer to work part-time, help us out, do tasks that we don't have time to do. They learn, and it's going to be instilled within them for the rest of their life. I've got one high school kid who's worked for us in the past who's still in high school, and he's now raising meat rabbits. Before that, his parents didn't allow him to raise anything like that, but now he's raising meat rabbits. It's his Future Farmer of America project is raising meat rabbits because he learned some tricks and some trades and stuff that we do here on the farm. We process about 500 to 600 head of meat chickens every year, and we've got a lot of family and friends that help, but we also do sometimes have folks that are looking to start a farm or a homestead, or they're currently already farming and homesteading, but they want to learn how to do that task. And I say, absolutely, come help us. You're going to learn the whole system of what we do and how we do it, and we've been doing this for 10 years, so tell you what mistakes we made and what mistakes that you can avoid. So that is a great way, a great experience there to learn from doing that. Another one would be local brandings. I don't know, it's probably not this way in every state or every country or whatever, but in Wyoming, we put a brand on our cattle in the spring. So that brand signifies who that calf is associated with, what farmer or what rancher. So much like a chicken butchering, farmers and ranchers bring in help to help them do this process because it is a large task. There's an option there to get involved with ag, meet some beef producers in your area, checking out branding. So let's say that you're ready to start your farm or your homestead, but it's just too expensive and you can't afford it, and you've been doing this stuff in your backyard, you've been growing some plants under grow lights in your basement because that's all the space you have, but you're learning that trick of the trade. So you can't afford to buy a place. Look into renting. So, little story here. Before we purchased this property, I rented 50 acres in a trailer house. And I was there for, oh gosh, I think 2 years, a couple of years. I started to rent that with the agreement that someday that place would be for sale. So it was kind of tied up in an estate, and there's a lot of family members involved. So I started to raise my pastured poultry there, really started to figure out that enterprise right there, expanded my rabbits there, grew my pasture poultry customer base to quite a bit. And then I also started to do some improvements on the property. So note to you, if you are renting a place and it's not guaranteed that you're ever going to buy it, do some improvements that you need to do to keep your animals safe, or to keep whatever upkept that needs upkept, but don't do a whole lot that's going to cost you a lot of money, because you're not guaranteed that property if you're just renting it. I planted some trees, I did some fencing, stuff like that, fixed up a building, and in the long run, I didn't end up getting that property. Okay, so you are now renting this property and you're starting to grow what I call our enterprises. So the beef cattle, the meat chickens, the meat rabbits, the emus, the hogs, the garden. So I call each one of those a different enterprise. I wouldn't recommend starting all that stuff at once. I didn't. I started with the rabbits that I currently already had, and then added the meat chickens, and then came along the egg-laying chickens, and then the garden, and then the hogs, and then the cattle, and then down the road the emus. All kind of trickling in through different years, because you don't want to be doing that all at once. Otherwise you will burn out, probably mentally and financially. So as you're renting and you're starting to figure out what you want to do and what you are doing, you're going to acquire some more livestock, you're going to acquire some equipment, and you're going to make that rent payment. However, you're not going to be making a property payment. You're not going to be paying taxes. If something major breaks or busts or whatever, more than likely it's going to be on the landlord and not you. So that is one thing about buying property, is more than likely you are going to have some sort of a down payment to put towards that property, especially if it's bare land. It's a little bit harder to acquire if there's not a house tied to it for some reason. Your next step is to buy, right? So what are you going to buy? Where are you going to buy? If you can't buy the place that you're currently leasing, you've got to look for other options, right? That's what I had to do. So you're ready to buy. So where are you going to find your property if you can't buy what you're already leasing? Well, the obvious would be to go check out all the real estate websites, or just talk to a realtor. Go in, talk to a realtor, tell them what you're looking for, how big of an area, how big of a property, your cost range, all that kind of stuff. Something else, speaking of cost, make a budget, figure out how much you can actually afford, because I know some people rely on the bank to do that for them. And maybe just because I'm a numbers guy, I figure that out all ahead of time. So here's my projected income from my farm. And maybe you don't even use that because you don't know yet. You probably still have a day job. How much can you actually afford? You just go from there. How much can you afford? Just do that. Don't let the bank tell you how much you can afford, because that might not be good. Okay, nothing against bankers. If there's any bankers, I just take it upon yourself to take care of yourself. Okay, so talk to the realtor, figure out your finances. The next spot to look for property would be talking to locals around the area. Just going to the feed store, going to the farm ranch store. Put up listings at the farm feed store, at the ranch store. Put them on the internet, the marketplaces, that type of stuff. Craigslist, what you're looking for. Maybe look for land on Craigslist and the marketplace. I mean, there's several different options where you can look, but word of mouth and just people that might nonchalantly have a piece of land for sale. Those are out there. Those are definitely out there. So how did I acquire this property? What was the process? Talked to a friend when I was starting to get interested in buying a place, and he said, well, such and such, their place might be for sale. It had been listed in the past, I think almost sold once, but the transaction kind of fell apart at the end. So they took it off of the real estate market and just kept it It's kind of a private treaty, word of mouth type deal. So I went and talked to this individual, looked over the property. It had a house on it, a driveway, and then water going to the house. So water is huge because where I live, there's some people that have to haul water, put it in a cistern to supply water to their house or their livestock. I didn't want to do that. My main stipulation was it was going to have water on it. So there's a large well that services about 30 different houses here in this canyon where we live. So something else to think about there is water. So it had all of that, and I had some money saved up that I could use as a down payment to purchase this. So I was able to put that money down, bought the property. One of the first things I did was build a pole barn, a 40 by 72 pole barn. So did that right off the bat, and then started slowly making improvements as time and money allowed. So one of the stipulations when I bought this, and kind of cool of already renting a place and already having a market in place, is I was already making an income from the rabbits and the meat chickens at the place I was renting. So I was going to rely on that income that I made from the rent over at the rental place to help make this place run profitable as well. So something else to consider there is what you're starting at your rental before you buy, or in your backyard before you buy, could actually go towards income to help fund your farm. Then fast forward a couple of years and talk to the neighbor about purchasing 50 acres behind our current 40 acres. As he talked about maybe selling off another chunk of land or whatever. So looked at that, got all the finance stuff put in place, did a budget, all that kind of stuff. Bought an additional 50 acres to join our original 40 acres. So I don't know if you can kind of see or kind of tell what I'm getting at here is I didn't start this overnight. It's taken several years. We're in our 11th year of this journey actually, and we're still learning, we're still improving, we're still growing. So if you find it discouraging and expensive and you just don't think you can ever start a farm, I encourage you to start small and grow big. And one of the first things that I would recommend you start raising on your farm, just because I'm so passionate about them, are meat rabbits. I hope you guys got something out of this video today. If you got any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comment section down below. I thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.